type. I actually started yesterday, and I too started yesterday, just getting around to live streaming today, so good to have you here. Feel free to chime in, say hello. Would love to hear from you, and we will get this party started. Again, 36 days of type. That is the plan. The whole goal is really just to just experiment. Give yourself a project. It's 36 days, super easy, a little bit over a month, okay, because there's obviously 26 letters and 10 numbers, so that's how we get that 36, and it's just a chance to experiment. So that's what I'm going to be doing today, and kind of dive into how at least I set up mine, and really hopefully inspire you. So Nitin, good to see you here. Awesome, fantastic. Feel free to say hello. I'm broadcasting from beautiful Denver, Colorado. Super nice out today. At least it's going to be nice out this week and not snowy. So you can see here is the URL, 36 days of type. I'm just going to paste this into chat really fast. And pinning that comment so you have it. Nina, good to have you here as well. I see you, Nina. What's up, Senchal? Here's 36 days of type URL. Oops. There you go. Oh, posted it twice. That's okay. Azaria, good to have you here as well. Cool. All right, so I'm going to dive into this. This is really hard to read. I think this is not a good example of type, to be honest with you, because type has one job, which is to be legible. But it's all about a project that invites designers, illustrators, graphic artists to express their particular interpretation of the letters and numbers. So it could be anything. There's no wrong way to do it, okay? You just know you need to upload to Instagram or even Twitter, hashtag 36 days of type, _A_B. You can see what you have in here, and you can see sort of Instagram. If I can even click on this, maybe not. Anyways, you could follow them on Instagram and all that fun stuff. It's really the big thing is the calendar. So let's take a look at this. I'm going to dive into this. I'm going to do letter B today and show you how I set this up. I don't know why everything's going so slow. But anyways, it's B today. Come on, buddy. Come on. Let's load. My computer's like, nah, I'm not ready. I'm not ready for it. It's not ready. Well, anyways, let's dive into this. 2020 edition. Here we go. Yeah, sponsored by Adobe. So let's switch over to Illustrator. Just so you know, here's letter A. And typically what I will do is I'll set up an artboard, and I'll usually do it square. So right in here, artboard, see, like so. Typically it was something else, right? It was much wider. Well, I know I need to post this to Instagram, so I'll select the artboard tool right up here at the top. You could do any width and height you want. Really, there are no rules. You just have to post to Instagram, so it needs to be larger than 1080. So I do 2000 by 2000 is what I will do. And what you can also do is you can give it a 0, point. That'll place it right in the center, like so. And there we have our start. And I just have a typical letter right here, right? I'm just using Acumen variable concepts, but I'm going to go through a number of these, okay? But this is typically what I have. I can create new artboards as well, okay? By adding new artboards that are going to be different letters. So I'll typically set that up as well. So it could be A, B, C, all within one file if you want to. Okay, I just want to make sure that the width and height are the same, just like so, okay? So there's a couple artboards right there. Again, we're on B, so there's A. I'll show you what I did for A, because I think that's a good example, and we'll dive into B today as well. So don't worry, once you set up lots of artboards, right, I'll set up a number of these, and I can actually duplicate artboards just by dragging them across. When it comes to artboards, check this out. I'm going to turn this on, move and copy artwork with artboard, because I actually want to copy that letter with it. And I can move that on over, and now we have B, and technically I'll change that to C and continue to make all of these various artboards, as you'll see in a second, okay? Awesome. Good to have you here. Graphic designer, Yolali? Cool. I'm glad I'm broadcasting a little earlier than usual because I think I hit a different audience. So I'll show you what I did for A. I did a couple different things, and just to give you some ideas, it helps to kind of like either just go with some basic shapes or maybe do something based on a theme. If we looked at the different versions we had out there, and we'll just kind of skip ahead from mine, Instagram. Here's what I did yesterday, just so you know. I created this actually in Illustrator on the iPad, which is coming soon, just so you know. We're working on it now. Daniel, good to see you here, man. From Fort Collins, you're just north of me. So I did this in Illustrator on the iPad, which I'm actually not supposed to show just yet, but I'm just testing out that particular software before we release it to the public. And then this is the other version I did. So I actually did two different versions. This was created on iPad as well, in Photoshop on an iPad, and the other one's Illustrator on the iPad, which is super fun to work with. If we do a search for 36 days of type, right, and we could do underscore A or B, you could see all the number of the different A's that were actually already created, and we're now into B today, so that's what I'm going to create. So we've got some pretty cool ones in here. Mine's really simplistic, but we'll have some fun with it as well. So let's kind of move on because I want to show you, I just kind of want to dive into this, shall we? I typically use a letter as like a base, like kind of an understanding of what a B will look like. So I'll just typically take a sans serif font, and this is going to be my guide for creating something new. So with this letter selected, I'll just kind of change the color to just a nice light gray, and we'll just start creating on top of it because this is just going to serve as our guide. Okay. Cool. Thank you. I'm glad you guys like this. I'm just gonna stretch this out and make this a little bit larger. Maybe not. Here we go. Here's our B. Let's lock that down. B, I typically start with like super basic shapes. And I'm gonna do something fun with this because I have a whole idea that I'm working on right now. Okay, and go with something simple, right? Taking the ellipse right here. We know the B is consistent of two, well, I would say three basic shapes. We have two circles and then a bar off to the side. So that's literally all I have going on here right now. Let's move that over a little bit. Let's move this over a little bit. I have my guides on so I can see those light up. If I select two shapes and I want them to be aligned, over here in my properties panel, it gives me my alignment options. So I can come in here and go ahead and align those two like so. And here's where we have the start of a potential B. You can move this in a little bit because we see lots of Bs that actually kind of start with a little bit on the inside. Cool. Wow, we have people from Congo here. Awesome. Good to have you here, Moise. Awesome. Cool. Kingsley, good to have you here. And just so you know, we're reviewing 36 Days of Type. That is the project. You can go to that URL. That's also pinned. And we'll get started on this. What I decided to do is highlight different artists for every day of this challenge. I don't know what I'm going to do when I get into the numbers. I think that'll be pretty interesting. But as you can see right over here, what I did in actually Photoshop for this version, this is Lawrence Alma Tadema. He is the artist that created this. So I'm highlighting him for A, Alma Tadema. And who I'm going to highlight today is Botticelli. So Botticelli's Venus, I thought would be a great place to start. So what I can do is I can start with that B. I can actually go in and use Botticelli's Venus right here and maybe take hints of this face right in here, right? Because this Botticelli's Venus on the half shell was the, I don't know, like icon for Illustrator for a while, or the, I don't know, represented Illustrator. I'm going to hit N for pencil. I'm going to double click on the pencil. I'm going to make sure it's set to smooth because actually I use the pencil in Illustrator, right? And I'm just going to kind of go over this really fast, just kind of creating this smooth line as I start to outline the face. Remember, this is going to be part of my B letter. But really the goal is just to have fun playing with Illustrator as part of 36 Days of Type. Yeah, Ivan, good question. Just says is having a hard time understanding why we don't like rework the UI. It's really hard to rework the UI because anytime we change something, people get upset. So we can't really. It's hard to change something when it's been built in Illustrator, and people have built their careers using Illustrator, and changing things, we just tend to tick off a bunch of people, right? So we have to just introduce new tools for people to use that could be better. And I'll show you some of them actually, if I could. Okay, let's make that a little more transparent. We can get back to this face. Here we are. Remember N for pencil, and I'm just kind of drawing. And actually what I'm really looking at is the fact that I keep drawing the same stroke over and over again. And actually I want to have some variance to the stroke that I want to kind of add, but I'll get into that in a second. Let me just kind of outline these lovely eyebrows down the nose. We could see it right here. Zoop. Just like that. Pretty easy. Trying to do this as fast as possible so you are entertained and you also learn. Okay. Oh, Alex is from actually watching from the Parisian subway and Burkina Faso, Demola. Awesome. Wow, so many awesome people from like all over. Right, I'm kind of just drawing. Sometimes you'll have this case. Do you ever have this happen? You'll draw and you'll accidentally like roll over this line and you'll maybe kind of connect it. Maybe you want this to not be connected. I typically draw on a new layer, but if you double click on the pencil tool options right here, edit selected paths. Let's turn that off. When we turn that off and we come in here and we draw, we're no longer editing that existing path, so it's not getting in the way anymore. So think about changing the properties for that pencil. Kind of drawing that out. I'm using the pencil a lot. I can also easily just use circles right in here, which I might consider, but really since I'm in the mood, I'm just going to kind of dive into this really fast and get something for you really quickly, because we're just going to keep this simple because this is just going to be a simple letter, the letter B for Botticelli's Birth of Venus. All right, so bear with me as we do this. Let me know if you have any questions. People from India, wow, this is great. Okay, man, I got to start drawing over a little bit more of this. I got to get this a little bit more completed before I bring it in with the letter, but I'm just going to roughly make Birth of Venus character using these. All I'm using is the pencil tool, so people are probably not impressed with the fact that I'm just using something so basic. But you know what? That's Illustrator for you. You know, it's all about the fundamentals and really clearly kind of reducing this painting down to its basics, right? So these big curls, this is what she's known for. She's known for her head tilt like this. So we're just kind of reducing this down to the basics. And then we can have flowy hair like so. All right. Hello from Dubai. Anna, good to have you here as well. I could do some fun things with these lines that I have not decided whether I'm going to do or not. But I can, right in here, control the width. Okay, so right up here at the top, I can make the width right here, use this width profile for selecting that. Now it's going to taper off, okay? But the stroke is at one point. What I can actually do is I can actually select everything, give the stroke maybe we'll go about 2 points, and now we can see that actually looks much better. I can select all this hair that I've been using, right? Selecting all this hair really fast. And chances are I need to flip some of these, but I'll add that same width profile to it. And now we have that flowy hair. You probably know that it works that way. But what I can do now, check this out. I show this a lot, almost like every stream, I feel. But if I can go into appearance and Since I want to, what if I want to, if I want to keep drawing and I don't want to, I want to keep the stroke at 2 point and I want the same taper every single time. Because notice how I have to go in and change it each time? I got to change this. I got to change this width profile. Okay, I got to draw another piece, another little bit of hair, as you can see, right? And then I got to change it up here, right? It takes forever. It's boring, right? What I can do is I can go into the appearance panel and I can turn off New Art has basic appearance. So I'll turn that off, and now it's going to remember the settings that I use. So when I'm doing this hair, like I'm doing like so, it actually keeps those settings. See it there? Keeps those settings. Works out great. Let's kind of move that off to the side, play with this some more. You get the idea. Long, flowy hair. All right. So let me move this into our other file, right? I just outlined this. Let's take this now. Let's copy it. Let's bring it over to our letter. Here's our letter B on a new layer. Pasting this in. And let's change this a little bit now, shall we? Let's change this. Again, I'm trying to go fast as possible. Let's flip these. Let's turn off that outline. And yeah, that's what I have so far. All right. Why look so sweaty and intense? Because I am sweaty and intense. This is so intense. No, actually, this is the if you like design and are into design, then we just have the best jobs in the world. Okay, I'm going to combine these. Here's my basic shape for my B, and we have Botticelli's Venus. So essentially, this is kind of like, this is a good start to what I want to do. We have B for Botticelli. Open to suggestions, right? In fact, what I'm going to do is I'll probably take this. I have these strokes. Let me show you a pro tip. Are you ready for this? Gary, check this out. This is super fun. Ready? So what I want to do is I want to increase the stroke size. Even though there's different strokes, I want all these strokes to be maybe like 50% thicker. But I have a 6-point stroke. I have a 2-point stroke. I have all these different stroke sizes. So let me show you how to do that. How can you beef up all the strokes without making them all the same size, right? I can come in here and, oh no, I just made all the strokes all the same size, and I don't want that. Let me undo that. Get that back to where it was. Wait for it. There we are. Okay, so what I can do is I can go to Illustrator Preferences. We'll go into General. I don't want to scale strokes and effects. I'm going to click OK. I'm going to scale this down 50% to maybe get it the way I want it to look, like the thickness of the lines. It actually is about that size. And then I'll go back into Preferences, go into General, and now I'll scale strokes and effects. So now when I scale this up, it's going to scale up all the strokes and effects, and hopefully that makes sense. I scaled up all the strokes and effects uniformly, and I beefed them all up at least like 50%. All right. Nguyen, sorry it's too late in your country. Venus leaning out of the B letter is a good idea. Yeah, so I think if I add a little bit of depth to this, this is really good. It's going to take me longer than I'm going to actually have for this stream. But I love the thoughts of like doing an in and out. In fact, right in here for this B, what I will do is I'll just create a new layer just for fun. We're going to just grab a quick ellipse. Wait for it. Let's flip it. I'm just going to overlay this with white really fast just to see if this looks good. But I'm basically kind of subtracting the B there. How's that look? Does it still read as a B? I don't know if it really does. So I'm back to where I was. So I would say this is a fairly good stopping point. I kind of want to jump ahead and show you kind of what I did before as well, is using the same template, those same processes of adding lines to the face, as you can see here, as I've done before, adding the eyes with a clipping mask, adding the hair, the face, and I'll just turn on all these layers so you can kind of see the final for at least this illustration that I worked on a while ago. So this is kind of fun. Here is Venus on the half shell that I need to work on some more. So, all right, Jose, I like your idea. The Venus leaning out of the B. Jancy, let me know if you have questions. Guatemala's in the house. Yeah, let me know if you have questions. I'm trying to just keep an eye on everything. I feel like live streaming at this time has worked for a lot of people, so this is good to see. Gina Fonso asks about different operations for Pathfinder, and yeah, sounds like, and asking about textures, which sounds like a good idea. I'll have to actually dive into that later, because all I did is add some color in here. What's up, Ann Bracker? How you doing? Good to see you here. Again, this is just kind of where this ends up. This does have a problem because her shoulders are way too broad. That's one issue I have. Another issue I have is I have different thicknesses in stroke, so it doesn't look that natural. Another issue is the hair. It doesn't have a stroke around it and actually should. So if I'm doing this black outline, I should do a black outline over the hair as well. So those are some critiques that I have for my own work, right? Huge issue, which again is why I should probably go in and, oh, you know what would be fun with this? Actually, remember, I'm going to change the profile, is having the hair kind of wrap around the B and playing with some of that depth. So I think that might be a good idea. Increase the stroke size a little bit and make sure new art has basic appearances turned off. And I could wrap that hair potentially kind of around that B on this lower part. So that's what I'll work on, but that's all I have for you. Just trying to get you excited about 36 days of type, excuse me, and what you can do. So you could set up your file with multiple artboards, start drawing on top of that letter as like an outline, and just make something cool is the whole goal. So Quebec's in the house, man. Yeah, maybe the skin gradients need more work too. Good points. Okay. Yes, exactly. Thank you. Everybody's giving me critiques for this one, which is just totally not good. I get it. I need so much work. If I did this again today, I would go much simpler, like what I'm doing right here, because that's just kind of what I'm into now. So, yeah, the shadow on the neck and the arms. Let's see how I did that, actually. Let's unlock these. Oh, yeah, I just used a gradient. I basically just used a gradient right in there, as you can see. No, this is what I did. Oh, interesting. I used a gradient, but actually I used a Gaussian blur. So if I shut that off, this is a gradient, and I decided to add a blur to it, which works for shadows. So that's what I did for the shadow underneath the neck, which is just a, fun tip, if that works for you. All right. You guys like the tattoos? The tattoos were really fun as well. Tattoos are actually a 3D element, right? So it's still a vector shape that I wrapped around a cylinder, a 3D cylinder. So you get the idea. That was kind of fun. Thanks everybody for watching. I'm going to let you go. Get involved with 36 Days of Type. Feel free. You can see it's obviously posted there. I'll be working on mine later today as I finish up my Botticelli's Venus. And my whole series is going to be about honoring artists, which is why I was doing Botticelli's Venus today. So thank you, Lamia, and Lauren, and everyone. So yeah, guys, join me later on. I think this has been good. I think this might be a good time to go live. So feel free, post more comments, follow me on Instagram and Twitter and all that stuff. You can see right down there. And we'll talk some more, and I'll try to be less sweaty next time. Thanks, everyone.